Welcome to your forum on local issues, problems, and solutions. This is Community Connection.
I'm Mark Zegan. Star Pal is a nonprofit organization that works with kids who live in San Diego's inner city neighborhoods. It connects those kids with police and probation officers for a positive interaction with law enforcement. The hope is the kids will be better educated on safety issues and hopefully they make better choices. Joining me on Community Connection, Chandane Flynn. She is the Executive Director of Star Pal. Lene Gutierrez, a County Probation Officer. Welcome to Community Connection.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So let's talk about Star Pal. Let's get a little overview of what we're talking about. Chandane?
Absolutely. At Star Pal, our motto is Star Pal brings youth and law enforcement together today to build safer communities tomorrow. We're a very interesting hybrid of a nonprofit organization. We're a 501c3, but because we have the wonderful support of the San Diego Police Department and County Probation Department, we're able to have law enforcement officers working as program directors, working with kids every single day.
This is part of the Police Athletic League, then?
Actually, yes. Star Pal stands for Sports Training, Academics, Recreation, and the PAL part is Police Athletic League. And a lot of folks are familiar with the concept of PAL. It is a nationwide concept to have police athletic leagues. But Star Pal is very unique because not only do we have athletic and recreational programs with youth all over San Diego County, we have very specific directed educational programs in the schools with the kids.
And this has been in effect for how long? How long has Star Pal been around?
We've been around for over a decade, but we have evolved quite a bit over the last 6 or 7 years. We actually built a facility in East City Heights, which has been one of our biggest accomplishments for a small nonprofit to engage in a capital campaign and then be able to build a building is quite a big phenomenon. And we were able to get a lot of stakeholders involved with us and help us accomplish this task. The park that we built in is called Kalina Park. It's in East City Heights, and it had a traditional history of crime issues, whether it's truancy issues or gang fights or drugs. We were able to actually transform this park quite a bit by building our facility there and provide programming on a daily basis there.
Yeah, I remember many years ago it didn't have the best reputation, but obviously some of the things you've done are changing and turning it around in that area.
Having the presence of law enforcement in a community park is a tremendous thing. And, you just see the transformation not only for the park, but the community around it. There are 5 surrounding schools around Kalina Park, and you have hundreds of kids walking from home to school and back home again. And just to know that, while they're going back and forth from school, their families can feel that their kids are going to be safe because they're going through the park where we have officers present, is a tremendous thing for the family.
The facility's is it on the east side of the park?
Yes.
There's that new school across the street. I don't remember.
Fay Elementary. Yep.
Okay.
The Fay Elementary School. Mm-hmm.
And obviously you have some children from Fay which are involved.
Yes. We actually primarily work with Fay Elementary, Ibarra Elementary, and Horace Mann, which are the 3 schools right around the park. And we provide homework assistance throughout the week to the children that go to these schools. And we bring in actually mentors and tutors from surrounding universities, from UCSD and SDSU, to come in and work with the kids and, of course, work with the police officers that are there.
And also maybe I would assume some police officers donate their time
Absolutely.
To Star Pal?
We wouldn't be able to do what we do without volunteerism. And absolutely, we're very fortunate to have 5 program directors that are law enforcement assigned to Star Pal. But we do so many programs every day. And to be able to really do them, we really need to have the assistance of volunteers. So, yes, we have volunteers that come in and work with the kids at the Star Pal Youth Center. And then, of course, in all of our programming, we just had actually a Padres clinic yesterday, and which continues on to today. And we wouldn't be able to do those types of sports programs if it wasn't for law enforcement officers coming and volunteering their time.
That's Chandane Flynn. She is the Executive Director of Star Pal, and we're just talking, getting our discussion about Star Pal, a great organization from the Police Athletic League, which works with kids and probation officers, and hopefully it makes life a little bit better and easier for everybody, along with sports and academics and recreation. What does Star Pal do that other groups may not do? Why is it different?
Well, my perspective is that, there are so many wonderful nonprofits out there, but I truly believe that Star Pal is a very unique nonprofit. I think that the law enforcement engagement is what really makes us different. And, you have programming available for kids in many different nonprofits, but I think that directed programming where kids really focus on issues that they may not really understand or hear about in, other capacities. So they have police officers and probation officers talking to them about crime prevention. They're talking about gang awareness, teenage relationship violence, drugs, alcohol, how to stay on the right path, internet safety. I mean, that's a huge issue for us in our community with technological advancements and all the different things that we're dealing with, chat rooms and, just different ways that kids are getting on the internet. It's a really important thing for law enforcement to talk to kids about how to stay safe on the internet.
Lene Gutierrez is here, and she is part of law enforcement. She is a county probation officer. How about your involvement in Star Pal? What have you worked with?
Well, as a program director at Star Pal, which each law enforcement officer is, we actually facilitate and run all the programs that Star Pal offers in the community. So we host anything from Chargers camps and Padres camps, as Chandani mentioned. We do school-based presentations on a variety of topics. And in addition to that, we run leadership programs and mentor programs.
How many kids are involved in this total in San Diego?
We provide over 10,000 youth services every year, which means that we provide one way or another a resource to 10,000 kids. In terms of the number of different kids that we service, sometimes a child gets multiple services from us. So roughly about 4,000 kids every year.
So let's say in a typical afternoon, so a child would come from school. Then he'd come to the facility, and then what would be in like an average afternoon? Let's say, how long would a child stay within the facility?
Well, on an average afternoon at our youth center, we would have anywhere from 10 to up to 30 kids that would be there for tutoring and then for some sort of outdoor sports activity. Many of our programs are not run on a daily basis. So, for instance, the Padres clinic that was ran yesterday, that has 60 kids. It's a 2-day clinic. So then today they get to go to a Padres game at the facility, I believe, today. And then, so many of our programs are weekly. Some of them are weekly within a school. But on a daily basis, we come in contact with a minimum of 15 to 30 kids. On a weekly basis, I would say we touch probably 150 kids with Star Pal services.
And so that's at least 150 per week.
Per week.
Excuse me if I've just asked this. How many children were in the program altogether again?
We provide over 10,000 youth services, and about 4,000 different children come and attend. So sometimes a child gets multiple sessions within a program, or they've come to different activities. So it's a little hard to track the individual child, but we do track the number of services we provide, and roughly ranges from 10,000 to 15,000 services each year.
Well, there's an awful lot of services there. Discuss a few more of those, Shandani. There's an awful lot there. Tell me a little bit more.
Well, as Lene started talking about, like our Charger camps, for instance, the Chargers have been an amazing partner for us for quite a number of years. And in the fall, we provide weekly Charger camps. And in each of these camps, we have about 100 or more kids. And these kids who have never had an opportunity to actually learn about football or learn that how important it is to be out there, getting healthy, eating nutritious foods, and being active, so that they are, being healthy kids. They learn about that, being out in the football camps and learning about drills. And in fact, they get to meet a Charger player. And because of the Chargers' conscientious commitment to the community, Charger players come out, work with the kids, and really leave them with an understanding that, they need to stay active, they need to stay healthy, they need to get involved in positive activities, and they need to stay in school and do well in school. So, each Monday or Tuesday night, depending on, when we have it, these kids are getting this tremendous experience.
We are talking about Star Pal on Community Connection. That is Shandani Flynn. She is the executive director of Star Pal. Lene Gutierrez, a program director of Star Pal, also a county probation officer. Star Pal, a nonprofit organization that works with children in San Diego's inner city neighborhoods. Obviously, there can be family issues and a lot of problems that children in those neighborhoods have to deal with. Some of those problems, you see them, obviously, in the, you have a whole range of ages of kids in the program, I assume.
Oh, absolutely.
And that age range is from?
Elementary to high school.
Okay, so you're seeing some of the problems that come up, and how do you work with some of those problems? Which, there might be some issues with family, there might be issues with perhaps getting into trouble themselves and winding up with, unfortunately, interfacing with law enforcement.
There's a variety of ways we actually try to work with these kids. I think one of the most important ways that we work with them is where Chandani touched on our whole purpose for existing, and that is that nexus between law enforcement and the community. Because many of these kids have had a negative experience with law enforcement, they oftentimes have a negative perception of law enforcement. So simply by our interactions through these various activities and programs, for one, we're building that bridge, and we're bridging that gap between the kids and the law enforcement that serve their neighborhoods. That's a big plus for us because it allows us the opportunity to let these kids know that we're not the bad guy, but that we're actually there to help. And I think that's one very important way that we're able to help in these inner city neighborhoods. In addition to that, we build relationships with them through many of our programs, through our mentor programs. I run a diversion program that's specifically for kids who are in lower level, they're having lower level issues with maybe truancy or probation. So they haven't committed a major crime, but yet they're starting to have these run-ins with law enforcement. And so we're able to bring them in and then really work with these kids. We also run them in high schools. We have a leadership program that runs for 22 weeks inside a high school. So we're really able to not only bridge the gap between law enforcement and the kids, but then we're also able to instill in them some leadership skills to work on where are you headed when you get out of high school? What's next for you. In addition to that, because of our community resources, when we do see a need arise, we're also able to partner with other agencies and other community partners and get services for them that otherwise may have been overlooked.
Now, I would assume you've both seen some great success stories coming out of Star Pal.
Absolutely.
Over the years. Any come to mind?
Well, I think one young girl that started coming to our youth center, her name is Chelsea, just a wonderful young girl. And, she's just surrounded by so many issues in our neighborhoods. And she tells me, I know, Miss Chandani, there are gangs around me, and she's from a single parent. Her father is raising her along with her brothers. And, she really didn't have anywhere to go get homework assistance after school. She didn't have anybody home available to assist her or tutor her. And then she started coming to our youth center and met college students, kids. Honestly, a lot of our college students even have had, come from difficult backgrounds. And so she, really had this experience where she started getting help and starting to get, build relationships with our different program directors. And she tells me that she would like to be a lawyer. And, being a lawyer myself, I was very excited to see that someone wanted to pursue the law. And, I just see her, ability to really look into her future and believe in herself. And I think that relationship between the law enforcement officers that work at Star Pal and her has really helped put that confidence in her and inspired her to realize that she can make the right choices and be on the right path.
So, Chandani, as Lene said, now you're becoming the role model and not the bad guy.
Yeah, exactly.
As before, maybe perhaps you're looked upon as somebody to be watchful and wary of, and in Star Pal, things got to change. The image changed perhaps for police and law enforcement.
Yes, and another very important aspect to what we do is that Star Pal is a preventative organization where we're trying to prevent these kids from ending up in the juvenile justice system, whereas typically law enforcement is intervention. The crime has already occurred, and then we're there to handle the after effects or the aftermath of that. And so in that sense, too, it's also very unique that we're actually able to catch these kids before they enter the system and help steer them onto the right path and keep them out of the juvenile justice system and entering the courtroom. And so it's a great opportunity for us in that respect, too.
Well, we'll continue our conversation with Star Pal. And Star Pal, if you're just joining us, a nonprofit organization that works with kids who live in San Diego's inner city. From the Police Athletic League, there's a strong law enforcement connection to this. Chandani Flynn, the executive director of Star Pal, Lene Gutierrez, a probation officer and a program director of Star Pal, joining into the discussion today. And I'm Mark Zegan. We'll be back with Community Connection in just a moment.
Today 60 minutes of physical activity a day and eating well can help get your child healthy. So keep them active and eating well every day. Get ideas, get involved, get going at letsmove.gov. That's letsmove.gov. A message from USDA, HHS, and the Ad Council.
Welcome to your forum on local issues, problems, and solutions. This is Community Connection.
Welcome back to Community Connection. Mark Zegan here, and I'm talking with Chandani Flynn. She is the Executive Director of StarPal. Lene Gutierrez, the Program Director of StarPal, one of the many, also a County Probation Officer. We are discussing StarPal. It is a nonprofit organization working with children in San Diego's inner city neighborhood in tandem with the police athletic league, and there's an awful lot of things we've been discussing so far. And Chandani, let's talk about some of the children. In the break here, we were talking about so many different backgrounds of the children and different families which are in the program, which provide some very unique problems or challenges.
Absolutely. You know, we're very fortunate to be in such a multicultural community in City Heights, and we built our facility in Kalina Park partly because we were seeing a lot of different gang issues that were happening in that park, and some of those gang issues were race-based. You see a lot of kids coming from different cultures, not understanding each other, not understanding the importance of tolerance and acceptance, and we at StarPal try to really help kids bridge those relationships. And you know, one of the things that has been interesting and a challenge for us is that, you know, we've had a lot of kids coming from different refugee backgrounds where unfortunately, they've suffered tremendous heartache and trauma in their homelands, and you know, they have a deep-seated fear of law enforcement because of what they've experienced with militia. A lot of the Somali kids, for instance, have lost one or two family members in the civil wars that they're facing in their own countries, and you know, having them actually build a relationship with some of our police officers and probation officers and build trust, I think just shows success for us. We see a lot of kids from multicultural backgrounds that don't have folks at home that speak English or can help them with homework. And, you know, having our tutors working with these kids, telling them they can succeed in school, giving them the assistance and even a place to do homework. A lot of kids, there's just like 5 or 6 kids in a very small apartment. They don't have a safe, quiet place to do homework. So we provide that, and they know that StarPal is a safe haven where they can come after school. They can be from any race, creed, background, religion, and they will find acceptance there. And so that's one of the roles that we have within City Heights.
Are you running into some language barriers with some of the children and families?
Absolutely, but I think kids pick up languages very, very quickly, and you know, they communicate well with us. Sometimes we do have to bridge the gap with the parents, but we do have a tremendous resource with the multicultural storefront within the San Diego Police Department that have community service officers that work with us and can help communicate with the parents for us.
As we've discussed earlier on the show, that law enforcement is involved, but obviously volunteers can help you out too. You're looking for volunteers to also assist?
Always. We're always looking for volunteers, great role models for the kids.
And by the way, we should mention your website, which is
www.starpal.org. So www.starpal.org.
Let's say if somebody did want to get involved somehow on a volunteer basis, what would they do?
Well, they would just need to contact our office, and we have a police officer that is assigned to volunteers, and we would just want to know what they're interested in doing. And there's a wide variety of ways that they can get involved, whether it's working on recreational programs or athletic programs. For instance, we have the fishing derby coming up on Saturday, June 18th, and we have about 350 kids at a local lake doing fishing. And so we work with the Fly Fishers Association and other volunteers who are great with fishing and teaching kids how to, fish, and they can come out and help us with that program, with that event that we do once a year. We have just a variety of different programs that they can get involved with. So it's really about their interest, and of course we background all our volunteers. Community volunteers are welcome to come work with us. We have a lot of law enforcement volunteers where we just welcome the help from anybody.
How many volunteers do you think you have working with the law enforcement types?
I'd say that we have about 400 volunteers that come out annually and work with us. And of course, being a nonprofit that we are, we also have a lot of different folks that are involved with us to help us with fundraising. And
that's another item about, since you are a nonprofit, you do need to raise money.
Oh, absolutely. We're a 501c3. We are very fortunate to have the in-kind support in terms of personnel from our law enforcement folks, but we can't provide programming without the dollars to actually implement programming. So we actually just had a very successful fundraiser in April called our Superheroes for Youth Luncheon, where we raised money. But again, it's our volunteers that came out, helped us with this event, helped us with just all aspects to this event. We just really need that kind of help. We're looking for folks to get involved with other special events for us. And of course, we're also very, very fortunate to have a tremendous board of directors and trustees that work with us that are on our board of directors and that find funding for us through their corporate partners.
And Chandani, if somebody did want to get involved personally, they could go to the website, which
Absolutely.
we just mentioned, that's starpel.org, and they can find a place to at least find information to do so.
Absolutely.
Now, Lene Gutierrez, who is a program director of StarPal and a county probation officer, we were touching on this a little bit earlier, how you're pushing empowerment for the kids, and you have different programs, and there's one that we were almost into, and we can get into it now. It's the Girl E program. Tell me about that.
That's correct. The Girl E program is one of our many programs, but it's probably the one that's most near and dear to my heart. It's actually a diversionary program. It's for teen girls who are in violation of statutory and petty crimes, so issues such as truancy, curfew violations, or petty theft. What StarPal does is, in partnership, obviously, with our law enforcement, it allows eligible teen girls to attend a 6-week curriculum-based program where we touch on a variety of topics. A lot of issues are addressed during the 6 weeks, and we touch on things like self-image and substance abuse. We spend a lot of time talking about violence prevention and how these girls can protect themselves. We go into sadness and depression, and we end on week 6 with college and career, really helping them establish some goals. And throughout the 6 weeks, their interactions are with not only law enforcement, but many community volunteers, women who come in as role models and really pour into these girls' lives and share their personal stories and their personal journeys to get where they're at. And it really impacts these kids in some amazing ways. I mean, the success stories we're hearing come out of these young ladies is just amazing. And the effect that we're seeing this program have on them is just amazing, and their desire to come back and get involved in other things.
So that's really quite a turnaround because, as you explain it, Lene, that the young ladies involved in this have had a negative experience with law enforcement already, unfortunately, at the beginning. And by the time it's all done, hopefully, things have turned around.
Correct. And one of the things with these young ladies is the majority of them, we'd like to see them as what we would consider low risk. So this is their first encounter with law enforcement. They've never been arrested or picked up for anything before in the past. However, that doesn't mean they've never done anything wrong before. It just means it's the first time they've been caught. So we still kind of see them on a scale of being low risk offenders. And so we want to catch them before they take that next step and end up in something more severe, whether it's a crime that they commit that lands them in a place like juvenile hall, or it's them becoming a victim. And we spend, again, a tremendous amount of time trying to just make them aware and educate them on matters that they're facing in their schools and in their communities.
How many, do you think you have any idea of the success rate of the program? It's probably something that's very hard to quantify. But
I would say it's very challenging to quantify. It's new as a diversion program. We're on our 5th rotation, which starts tonight, with the young ladies that come through our program. We've had about 110 girls come through the program so far, and I would say out of that 110, our success rate is probably 85 or 90 young ladies who have completed the program. Now, what will really tell the difference is how many of them stay connected with us. And right now, we're seeing that there's a great interest for these girls to now enter our Teen Mentor program that's starting, and it's called Making Choices. And we're very excited that they are showing a genuine interest. They're bringing back waivers and you know, talking to their parents, and we're already getting phone calls. And so, again, they're just making that connection with our volunteers and our officers, and they're saying, hey, I still want to keep coming. I want to come back. So the first day, and I have several letters. They write letters to thank our volunteers for coming out, and many letters where they say, I came the first day and I was upset I had to be there, and by the end of the class, I was happy and I'm excited, or I wanted to invite a friend, or you know, so it's just a tremendous turnaround with these young ladies. And, you know, I think there's something to be said about having just girls in the room for this particular program and the topics that we're discussing. We're very open with them on things that young ladies face that they otherwise wouldn't talk about in front of their, you know, their peers, and especially of the opposite sex in a large room with so many people. So being able to get them into a small group setting where it's only females, it says a lot about what we're able to discuss and how they're able to open up.
It's possible possibly some areas of discussion they might not even want to bring up with their parents, you think?
Absolutely. It's unbelievable the things these kids don't know. I mean, simple things like hygiene. We touch on hygiene and, the things that they eat. For sadness and depression, I actually have a intern marriage family therapist who comes in and shares from a clinical perspective. And, I got a letter this week from one of the girls thanking that particular speaker, Janet Johnson, for coming in and just saying, I really appreciate your professional perspective, because sometimes we feel like we're all alone in this issue, and to know that, we can actually get help. Thank you, and so it's just amazing what's coming out of it.
Lene Gutierrez is one of the program directors of Star Pal. We are discussing San Diego's Star Pal. That is a part of the Police Athletic League, and other law enforcement officers are involved. It is a program which tries to help troubled inner city youth, and so far it sounds like things are moving along pretty well. Shandani Flynn is the executive director of Star Pal, who has a lot of work on her hands, and you used to be a prosecutor, you tell me.
Yes, I was. I was a prosecutor with the San Diego City Attorney's Office.
How did you wind up moving into this venue?
Well, it was an interesting experience for me as a city attorney. I was a prosecutor for 7 years, and 5 of those years I was a neighborhood prosecutor. It was a special assignment that I did where I was actually assigned a mid-city division as their neighborhood prosecutor. I worked out of the police station on Fairmont University. I worked with the police department very closely, attended community meetings, and really looked at prosecution from a preventative neighborhood policing standpoint. So I was really working hands-on with the community and the police department to see how we could solve problems and not just look at it in a linear way where we're just prosecuting crimes. And as I did that, and I worked with this amazing community in City Heights, I just fell in love with it. And I was working out of my office, which was right next to the holding cell at the police department, and I started seeing 13, 14-year-old girls being brought in for prostitution. And, I was just at a juncture in my life where, I just saw the fact that these young girls, and they're from quite different backgrounds. They're runaways. They're kids from nice families. They're just kids who've really had the wrong influence that brought them into the situation where they're now in a holding cell for prostitution. And this opportunity at Star Pal opened up, and I just thought that I could leverage my law degree in a different way that could benefit the community and help youth. And I just thought it would be really fulfilling to be able to look at things from a preventative standpoint than a prosecutorial one down the line. So, I've been the executive director for 6.5 years, and still work very closely with a lot of my colleagues who are prosecutors at the DA's office and city attorney's office. And it's been just a wonderful, fulfilling experience for me.
Well, Shonda, I can tell that you're really very, very excited about Star Pal, and there are many more things to discuss here in the few minutes we have left. We've talked about the athletic programs, the educational programs. Something we haven't touched on yet?
Well, I just wanted to share just a couple of quick other things. Teen Leap, for instance, is one of our programs that we're very, very proud of. It's one of our new programs. It's a year-long program. And the focus is really working with young adults, ninth graders, that we're trying to inspire to become civic-minded. So working to empower them to not only just make good decisions for themselves, but look at the community and see what they can do to benefit their community. So we have a wonderful program director, Officer Carlos Amesqua, who helped establish this program at Gompers Middle School, which is now also a high school. And, we do some really unique things with these kids, like take them to the Museum of Tolerance. That trip's coming up next week. So kids can learn from a Holocaust victim, and they hear about the travesties that can happen in this world if they don't learn about tolerance and, working within their communities to make it a safer and better place.
I wish we had a little more time. We have less than a minute, but the website where people can go get information to learn about Star Pal and, of course, maybe volunteer or even donate.
Yes, www.starpal.org. And there's going to be information about a fundraiser we have on July 12th and 13th. So we invite folks to come out and support us.
Well, good luck to San Diego Star Pal. Thank you very much. Shandani Flynn, the executive director of Star Pal. Lene Gutierrez, a program director of Star Pal, also a county probation officer, taking time with us today to join myself on Community Connection and talk about how they are helping inner city children. And from what I can tell, it sounds like full speed ahead. You're doing a great job, so we appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you both for joining me. And again, this is Community Connection. I'm Mark Zegan. Thank you for listening.